Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brenna and this is my sister Miranda. We wanted to make this video today about warning signs or things that you should look out for if you think you might struggle with some form of addiction. It's just a little backstory. You guys know about me. I am completely sober from alcohol. Alcohol is something that I'm addicted to, and I will let Miranda talk a little bit about her.
I went to treatment in 2019. I went for addiction problems and I've been sober from drugs for over 2 years now. Yeah, I'm very familiar with addiction and recovery and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so basically I really wanted to create like a space for people who are in that middle ground between knowing that something's off, maybe with like their drug and alcohol consumption, or it could be food, it could be sex, it could be whatever, honestly.
Yeah.
But they're not quite sure where they fall in the severity of it, or if they need to get help, or if they need to go to rehab, if it's normal. There's so many people that will come up to me and be like, oh, I drink, but I don't think it's a problem, or I think it's a problem, but I don't think it's bad enough to label myself. And
yeah,
there's just not enough examples and stories out there of people who choose to be sober or who have gone to rehab. With that said, we wanted to sit down today and just kind of go over warning signs that you might have some form of addiction happening. First, I looked up the definition of addiction, because
it's kind of like the definition of insanity. Doing something over and over, expecting a different result.
We love that for us. Addiction is an inability to stop using a substance or engaging in a behavior, even though it causes psychological or physical harm. I mean, I don't know about you, but that I feel like can apply to so many things.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that drugs and alcohol and gambling and cigarettes, like those all fall under it, but it really can apply to being addicted to love or being addicted to food.
So many things.
Jewels.
Yeah,
so many things.
Yeah.
So let us begin. Once you start, you can't stop. Like in my experience, I would tell myself I'm gonna go out and have like 1 or 2 drinks, and I would just wake up the next day completely having blacked out, because once I have a drink, I lose that ability to be able to cut myself off. If I am able to cut myself off, I'll incessantly think about it still. Someone was like, hey, here's like 1 pill or like 1 thing, and then there was a second one sitting there.
Yeah.
Could you stop yourself from having the second
No.
one? No. It's that feeling of like you're gonna consume everything that is offered to you.
Yeah.
And there is no, you know, I'm good, I'm not gonna have that, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna save it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, give it to me.
Yeah.
Even if you know you shouldn't, you're gonna just push it and push it and push it until it's too much.
Like if there was a second one there and you're like, I'll just take it and save it for a different time. Like you'll really believe that, and then like you'll take it the same night or like an hour later. Your brain really tricks you in addiction. Not really having any hobbies or extracurricular activities that you do, or you do and you drop them. That was me in high school. I did not have any, which some people don't, but I had like interests, but I didn't do any of them. And more time goes by and you don't do absolutely anything that you used to be interested in. For me, I felt like I had no passion for anything in my life. Like other people around me had all these passions for things that they wanted to do or wanted to be, and I had none. And the things that I did like, I didn't like anymore.
Another symptom is trying to like set limits around the thing that you are trying to control. So I think I learned it in AA or I learned it somewhere, but if you start to feel like you have a drinking problem, a lot of times you'll say to yourself, like I would say to myself, okay, well, I'm only gonna drink beer, or I'm only gonna drink on the weekends, or I'm only gonna drink like every other week or something like that. And what I didn't realize was as soon as you start putting like strict constraints on the activity is when it is a problem already. You are trying so hard to control it that you're having to put all these rules in place, but having to put these rules in place is just proving the fact that you really don't have like innate control. And you're trying to like manufacture the control over it, and then it becomes a pride thing and like an identity thing where you don't want to accept like your willpower isn't strong enough to overcome it. So then you're almost in this weird denial phase of, no, it's fine, like I didn't drink all week, like it's fine. And then you drink again and it's a mess, and you know, you black out or you overconsume or whatever it is, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, well, that was a slip up, or that was a one time only, or that was because of this one circumstance. And it becomes this like weird dissociation between the fact that you're trying so hard not to do the thing, but you want to still do the thing and be able to have this like symbiotic relationship that really isn't possible.
Another thing for me that was kind of my breaking point towards the end was taking pills, and in the beginning you get like a high and it's super fun and all that, and then after a while you don't get that high anymore, and you keep taking it to try and get that first high, and it'll never happen ever again. But towards the end, when I started taking them, and then it started making me depressed. I was depressed in general, but the pills made me even more depressed after I would take them. Like the high was like the opposite, and I still couldn't stop. Like it was not even making me feel better, it was making me feel like 10 times worse, and I still couldn't stop. And that was like, I was like, what the fuck? Like,
which
why?
That I think sums up so perfectly not being able to stop even when you want to. Not only that you should, but that you want to, and you're like, yeah, actually I'm gonna stop, and then you can't.
Yeah.
That is obviously a problem.
Yeah.
That is when you have a problem.
Yeah.
Another one for me is when you start to hide it from people.
Yeah.
I know for me, like with drinking, I was staying with my mom for a while, and I didn't want her to know how often I drank, so I would stop and get wine, and I'd put it in my backpack, and I would put the bottles under the bed upstairs, and I would say goodnight and go in my room and drink in my room once everyone went to bed and get drunk. This is the part, in the morning, instead of just putting the wine bottles in the trash, I would wrap them in a bag, put the bag in a bag, and then take the bag out to the trash.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want any evidence. It was like a dirty secret.
Yeah.
And even if she saw it, I don't know what she would have said, but it wasn't about her. It was just about the fact that I didn't want anyone to know.
Yeah.
That I was drinking when I didn't want them to know. It was
Yeah.
like, you can't see what I'm doing. I don't want you to see it. I wouldn't speak of it to anyone. That's a warning sign.
Yeah.
So when I was heavily drinking, I would black out a lot. I didn't realize that that's not very common. I thought that was pretty normal. I've had friends who've never blacked out. And for me, it was a 50-50 shot. If you're experiencing blackouts consistently, then that's a warning sign, because that is your body's way of saying, you're consuming too much, we can't handle this.
And I think another thing too is basing your social agenda around drinking or around drug use. Like, ooh, let's go tubing, but like you're going to drink, you're basing everything around drinking. Or let's go to blah blah's house and bring like the pills and this and that, and all hang out there and watch a movie, like do something, I don't know. But I think when you base things around drugs and alcohol, that's not ideal. When you start to have consequences for doing drugs or drinking, and then you still do it anyways, which is like a pretty common one. But like physical consequences, like getting hurt or, you know, losing your job or something like that. Also emotional consequences, like someone does find out, or you do tell someone, and like a family member or a friend, and they're like, we're not okay with that, we do not condone that, and then you still do it knowing that you might lose that person, or that you might hurt that person around you.
When it like messes your priorities up. Because like the truth is, I mean, no one asks to get addicted to something. We know that it's not a choice in a lot of aspects, but I do think that there is still that stigma that you're choosing to do it, which you physically are choosing to do it, but that it's so much more than that.
Like you said something in your other video a little differently than this, but this is what I think too. You kind of said, but alcohol and drugs are not the problem, they're the solution to a problem. And how someone in like my life who has relapsed, I get mad at these people because they are sober when they decide to do that. Like they're in a sober state of mind before they decide to do that, which is where people get caught up and they're like, oh, they're choosing to do that, and it's a choice. But, and it is to a certain degree, but also there's so much past trauma that people either don't know about, don't have resources to even know about, like therapy or rehabs. Like it's all so expensive. So some people aren't even aware of the resources that they have. They don't even know that there is a problem and that drugs are the solution. They think it's just the problem, or their families do, or, you know, people just aren't really aware of this topic as they should be.
It's one of those truths that we're all struggling, right? And it's how we're coping with the struggle, how we're numbing, escaping. It's a self-soothing mechanism. The problem is that some of the self-soothing mechanisms are addictive in their own right. And it's a lot easier to use that as an excuse to kind of keep your head in the sand than to take action and actually try and be happy.
It's hard work.
Trying to be happy and like live a life that you're proud of is really hard.
Yeah.
It is not easy. And like I said in my last video, once you're sober, you realize all those problems are there, and then you have to deal with them, and it's a lot easier to turn on the TV, to light the cigarette, to drink the beer. Like, those are the things that are easy, and like we get it.
Yeah.
You know, the work has to be done by you, but at the same time, like, you're not alone, and this isn't a place where we're gonna like judge you or shame you. There's a spectrum to everyone, and we just want to like tell our stories so that hopefully someone feels less alone, because it's important, and because people did that for us when we needed it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
With that said, I'm gonna have Miranda come on and make these videos with me specifically about addiction. So if there's anything you guys want to know, just let us know in the comments. We would love to hear from you guys. I'm hoping that we can create like a little community where people just feel seen and not judged.
Yeah.
And we're here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on my little show, Miranda. All right, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.